Now is your time to flex.
What up, everybody, and welcome back to the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing. I am your moderator, B. Jones, and today's podcast, we're going to be getting into some more work-related topics, such as the rat race, the glass ceiling you may be dealing with in your career, and then, deciphering the difference or what may work best for you as far as embracing and going with certain changes in your workplace versus creating certain change and going about things your own way. But before we get into all that, I want to remind all of our listeners, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you're making that investment into getting out of your comfort zone and onto your purpose-driven life. So as you're hitting that subscribe button and making that investment, I want to go ahead and introduce my guys. Today we got C'mon. What's happening?
What's happening, everybody? Again, as always, thank you so much for listening again. Wherever you are, at the gym, in your house, in the car, I appreciate you. We appreciate you. And look forward to seeing you guys leaving comments, letting us know what you think. And we'll go forward from there. Let's get it.
So much love coming from C'mon. So much love. We got our beloved intern, Jay Dace. What's happening?
Hey, what's going on, beautiful people?
All right. And El Fresher Dente himself, DJ Barry B. Fresh.
Yes, sir. Always in the building. Well, I'm back in the building, but we here, we living, we live, we ready. Y'all ready? Let's go.
Let's go. Coach K, the prolific one, Carol Cadillo. What's going on?
What is happening, my man?
Not too much, man. So before we jump into the meat of the podcast, has everybody seen the Shea Moisture commercial yet?
That made me stop using my favorite cocoa butter.
I don't know what's going on in 2017 with these controversial commercials, man. First we had Pepsi. Now we got Shea Moisture, and I mean, you got some people that's trying to throw shots at the Heineken commercial, but I'm really more partial to the Heineken of the three. But Shea Moisture, come on, man. I don't understand what happened. I feel like they just alienated their core segment when it came to who they market their products to with this commercial, man. And I think if it's one thing that you do not want to do to an African American woman is make them feel disrespected, because they possibly just lost a huge amount of money and following from the people who buy their products the most with this commercial.
And it's sad because, like, even in the commercial, I wouldn't be mad if I saw like a redhead with really curly hair. Okay, well, maybe she's got a little Irish in her. It works out. But they picked the most straight, non-curl, non-frizz, and she got a long segment. It wasn't like she was just there for a clip. Like, she got airtime, and it was just, I don't understand.
Right, man. And it's like, I don't like to me, none of the people who got most of the airplay are the actual ones using the product. And then at the end of the commercial, when you bring in the Brady Bunch squares or whatnot, you have your darker skinned African American woman as the centerpiece, but she had no words in the commercial, and it just could have been done so much better. And on top of that, the CEO of Shea Moisture, the apology that he put out was just so unprofessional. When you start the apology by saying, yeah, I know we effed up. What do you... Exactly.
You're already putting yourself in the worst position possible. I think he definitely realized their lack of sensitivity towards what is the core of their product. It was definitely strange and interesting to watch it unfold, how you would assume a product that literally has, been, like the owner stated when he initially created it, that it was for, being able to bring African American products to like the forefront, and getting it from the back aisles of Target or that special section and saying, hey, it's just a hair product. And it's really interesting watching how he dropped the ball and really dropped the opportunity of being able to keep his core alive and well.
So I want to jump in because I don't know if you all saw his interview on The Breakfast Club.
Was this before or after the commercial?
This is after the commercial, and this is after the apology. So he had an interview, and for one, I didn't know Shea Moisture has been out around for 25 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to use it. Yeah.
My wife's a big fan of Shea Moisture.
Right. He said what they were trying to do is that now that there, now that there are so many other people in the game, they're trying to expand their audience, which, listen, any corporation is going to do that. They're going to try to expand. And he also said that the commercial did not go through its normal approval process. So it got put out before everybody that was supposed to see it got a chance to look at it and approve it. Now, maybe that's made up. Who knows? I would have definitely had somebody. I would have definitely had somebody be the sacrificial lamb. That's what the big boys do. But at the same time, I'm going to take a different spin on it, because now we're going to drop out and we're going to stop supporting this brand. And they actually donate millions of dollars to the African American community, and they have scholarships and all of these things. So when you stop supporting them, what are you ultimately doing to that same core group now? What's going to happen? So look, I understand there's a harm, there's a foul, and we need to voice that. But at the same time, you don't want this to be where this company now just disappears, and now, okay, where is this African American owned company that produces this product?
That's a pretty good point, man, because I will say that I did not take into consideration anything that they were doing outside of the business. So, if they are as influential in the communities of African Americans, I do think that it is worth a second consideration before, we just pull all of our dollars and all of our purchasing power away from that company. But I still find it hard to believe even that answer on the Breakfast Club. And I looked into it. Their VP of marketing is someone who may not have had the right eye when it came to okaying this commercial. And I'm pretty sure enough people who were supposed to see it did see it, even if it didn't get to the CEO. So who thought it was such a great idea? That's the question that I think I would like to have answered.
It's no different than the Pepsi commercial, that it wasn't anybody thinking past the expansion of, hey, you know what, we feel that we really have a tight hold on our core patrons. Mm-hmm. However, now we really want to be able to expand, and all it was them thinking it was a great way to expand and show that, hey, this product that everybody may assume is only for African Americans is actually, great product for anybody. They just did a horrible job of figuring out how to display that message. However, especially taking into consideration what Kay just brought to the table, I think that the fact that with the immediate backlash, even though they've been slick to the way that they're answering some of the questions, they've still stood up, admitted that they were wrong, and said that they, want to make a change the right way. And so I commend any company that's able to, in that immediate impact, be able to go ahead, stand up, say, hey, we were wrong. I don't think necessarily how they described how wrong they were, but just the fact that they were able to stand up and say something and look to make it right, that speaks volumes, especially with the history of what they've done already.
So it was a campaign that they were trying to push. Like they said in the commercial, everybody gets love. So they were trying to say, while African American women, they struggle with hair, but I guess they were trying to push like all women struggle with hair products. And it's like, I get that, but I think they missed a big target, because it's like, yes, all women may struggle with hair products, but African American women, it's an entirely different struggle. You know what I mean? It's not like okay, I didn't feel like I was supposed to be a redhead, as they used in the commercial. It was like I just look in the mirror and it's like, I don't know what I need to do with my hair today. It's like black women, they could do something to their hair and they can step outside, and what they did can be completely undone. So that's an entirely different struggle. And I don't think that they meant to put that out there like that, but it's just like, I think that they did a horrible job in presenting it in a sense. I understand the concept, everybody gets love and everybody does deserve love. All women struggle with hair products, but it does seem like they took away from African American women.
So before I go to UK, you made a good point. It was supposed to be a campaign, right? So if this is supposed to be a campaign and you want to diversify, which is good for any business, how is this commercial the first commercial that you put out? Why aren't the people who struggle with hair and its acceptance in society the most, why aren't they highlighted first? So that way, you get their perspective on it. Like, it's highlighted, like, I don't understand how you have these Caucasian women, these white women, and they're talking about, I struggle with being a redhead or whatever. Like, but I think it kind of, and I may be biased, but it pales in comparison.
So this is what I'll say, just real quick, Art, and I'll let you jump in before I even say what I was going to say originally. But unless any of you have been a non-black woman with red hair or blonde hair, we cannot speak to their struggle. The same way that they can't speak to the struggle of African American women, we don't know what they go through to maintain their hair or to thicken their hair or whatever it is. So you kind of can't really say, and I think that was part of the campaign, was putting out products for every hairstyle and person to help strengthen their hair or whatever it is they want to accomplish. Go ahead, Art.
So I think the first thing that Brett asked about was the commercial in their first one for their campaign. Target did one with them a long time ago. This is probably like 8 months to almost a year and a half ago, where they moved them, like E said, they moved them from the ethnic aisle to the main aisle, and that was that first initial we do product for everyone, but it didn't go off like they wanted to, I'm assuming, but they were pushing our product. I mean, you go from have 2 or 3 per shelf to actually having your own section on the shelf, and it was always prominently displayed in Target. If you go in there, it's right in the front when you walk in. So they made the right move. They just decided to televise it nationally the wrong way, unfortunately. But on the other point that I was going to make was that, as much as everyone's in an uproar, we live in a society where people's already forgotten about this. So no one pulled it off their shelves. No Asian market decided to stop selling it. They're going to continue to sell those products. Just like Pepsi will continue to sell Pepsi. It's something that you get outraged with, but the buying power we have and the buying power in the black community is still strong, and unfortunately, it's not going to change overnight. It's going to have to take a lot more than just one commercial ad and a couple of misquoted words to change that, because we've seen in history that doesn't really affect everyone.
I'm going to tell you guys what the real problem is, and I'm about to here's the warning. I'm about to age check a couple of you guys. So what really happened is that in their marketing department, they had Marcus Graham in there. For those of you who don't know who Marcus Graham is, that is Eddie Murphy's character in Boomerang.
Wow.
And Marcus Graham was not happy with how he was being treated at work, and he was in charge of marketing, and he said, "Man, you guys do whatever you want to do with Strong J."
There you go.
And he just left it to the Uncola man, the 7-Up man, and that's how they ended up with Grace Jones coming out there naked, giving birth to a perfume bottle.
Birthing a perfume bottle.
Tell me what.
J Days, please
and it was
tell
terrible.
us that you are following. Hold on, please, J Days, are you following?
Follow it. I mean, yeah, I know the movie Boomerang.
That sounds
Have
real
you seen
suspect.
Are you sure?
I know it. Yeah, with Eddie Murphy. Yeah, I mean,
He said that already.
I know it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I
anyway.
ain't necessarily watched it. I don't know what classifies as watching it.
Shame.
Oh my God, Jay, come on, man! You gotta give me something. You gotta help me out sometime, man.
I knew it.
Wow.
I knew it. But if I had to guess, and if I was a betting man, I would say that there is an associate in the marketing department that they have not been treating the way they should, haven't given them the proper raises and recognition, and that person just said, "Okay, I'm gonna fix you guys."
Hey, I saw
a
picture. It was I think it was Rachel Saldoza, whatever her last name was. It's like she was like the marketing director. Like it was like
talking about enthusiasm, whatever. Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yo, these
moving
are
right
crazy.
along. So we gonna let Shea live for now, man. We gonna let Shea live for now. Hopefully they've learned a very valuable lesson when it comes to marketing and their core group and the message that they're trying to convey. I want to move forward now that we've tackled some of our female listeners qualm with the show. Yes, ladies, we do take your feedback and put it into action. Yes. I want to talk about Russell Westbrook, man, because the NBA playoffs is going on right now. Russell Westbrook, he's done,
sitting at home.
He's sitting at home after arguably one of the better MVP seasons in NBA history. He just broke the triple-double record held by Oscar Robertson for how long? How many years?
Forever, in eternity.
But
and
he
a half.
averages a triple-double for a season, 82 games. And now he's sitting at home with the rest of us.
And his team goes
watching
out
the
in
playoffs.
the first round.
What is
of
next
the playoffs.
for Mr. Westbrook?
He's going to get paid for those records for the rest of his life because, if I was told correctly, then maybe I'm wrong. And if I am wrong, please leave me a comment and correct me. But I believe that if you hold a record in any major sport, you get paid as long as it's not broken every year. So his victory is that consistent check. Unfortunately, it was all for nothing, except that check he's going to get in the mail every year.
I'm very curious how much that would be. I'm very curious. I wonder, if that's true, the merit of that, and then I wonder what the actual the amount of money that's awesome if that's true. I would assume there is some type of something associated with besides just the good feeling you get of being king of the hill.
I believe that came from the consistent while I was in Miami with the Dolphins. Like they get a check every year. No one beats their perfect season, and and Brett Favre gets a check for his his yards received or yards thrown, whatever. So again, if you're on this podcast and I am incorrect, this is a great opportunity to leave a comment on the page.
I just want to know if the person that has the record for the most interceptions gets a check, because I can probably break that one.
No, but seriously, guys. So this dude, he was with KD and James Harden for a number of years. And, KD left last year. He's now with the Warriors doing his thing, and Westbrook has always been, in my opinion, he's never been a point. He's not a point guard, and it's going to be super hard for him to ever assume that role. And now he's been given the keys to the castle. He has a team, probably not a championship caliber team. We all know that, but he has a team where he's the man. He don't have to defer to KD. He don't have to defer to James Harden or anybody else. And he just can't get it done by himself.
I would say that he's probably one of the most gifted athletes we've ever seen with what he's able to do. But as I talked about last week or week before, your gift is not about you. It's about others. And if you make it about you, then you're being selfish. And some people would accuse him of being selfish with the ball. And I think that's the difference between a him and a Michael Jordan. And unfortunately, we have to compare him to the greatest ever, or even a LeBron. Those guys try to make the people around them better. And I don't think he's doing that. He just goes out there with his raw gift and talent. And when thing comes down to the wire, he's going to take over. Everybody knows he's going to take over. So all you have to do is stop the one man. If he was actively out there making the other four guys on the court better, then you would create a more respect for the team overall. But right now, you only have to respect his game, and that's it. Everybody else is just whatever. Now, granted, I do think they need to get him some help,
right?
Some better role players. But if he's going to ever become a champion, he's going to have to learn how to make others around him better using his gift.
So, Kay, do you think that maybe he felt like he had to prove himself in some way? Because my man KD left. People was leaving him high and dry, and now he's like, I am the man. Like, he is that single dude while he has a team, but he, people was coming down on OKC for a while. So it's like, do you think that maybe he just had to, okay, this is what I'm about. Maybe this coming season he'll do that, or you think that he just, like, what do you think the mentality was behind that season?
No, man, because you know what proves everything to everybody? A championship.
I mean,
at the end of the day, that's it.
Look what
that
happened.
leaves no questions.
Look what happened with James Harden. When he left, everyone was like, oh man, but he went to a team. He showed where he was, but he also was a team player. But I think that, and I think I may have told Diddy this a while ago or a couple of weeks ago, I just think that he's emotional. He's an emotional player, and when he gets in his zone, he has an ability to see others around him, and if something doesn't go right, he's like that guy on the basketball court that plays and plays hard, but was not going his way. He takes his balls and go home. So that's what he successfully was able to do, all those points and all those triple doubles. But when you're trying to involve an entire team around you, you got to be able to check that emotion at the time and be able to control and see what's happening around you.
And he'll be a legend just like Charles Barkley, because I think Charles Barkley was the throwback version of Russell Westbrook. Super talented, played on a number of teams, but he never really made the people around him better. No. He got on some teams with some other players, but that's really it.
And then when you look at the team, so this is a perfect segue into the meat of the podcast. When you look at the team, he had to be that guy. He had to be Mr. Triple Double every night to make the team be as successful as they were. So, taking that and carrying it over into the workplace, one of the topics that we want to get into is relationships and how those transfer into you being successful at work, being able to work together with a team. I guess being able to control your emotions within any environment or whatever may be happening in your work environment, so that you can see a certain level of success. I think, Carol, we've spoken about it before, man. I mean, I think that's one of your biggest gifts as a manager and as a person in life is your ability to, create and develop those relationships, those long-lasting relationships to help other people, not just yourself, see success.
And that's true. I think where we go wrong in the workplace is if you don't have a relationship with yourself, you can't expect anybody else to have a relationship with you. If you don't know why you're in the workplace and what it is you're trying to accomplish, and this ties into everything that we've been talking about, you can't expect somebody else to figure those things out for you. So I think that's where relationships start wrong to begin with, is people going to the workplace expecting everything to be done for them.
Yeah, I mean, you go into the workplace and you expect certain things, right? So looking at, I guess, how people talk about millennials in the workplace, and they go in and they just expect things to be handed to them, or they that's the quote unquote stereotype, where you just expect certain things to come from your employer, where you don't have to put in a certain level of work or build a certain level of trust or engagement to be able to have those things bestowed upon you. I think that's really important when you talk about forming those relationships. I think that's really important when you talk about building those relationships, is the time spent when actually getting to know the team that you're supposed to be leading.
You have to make personal connections, and when I say personal, I don't mean you know what the person's favorite color is, or what type of wine they like, but you have to make a connection with the people that you work with, because you have to know what's important to them. If you don't know what's important to the people that you work with, and vice versa, you're never going to have a successful working environment. And a lot of times what's happened today is we've made the number so important over everything else, or that bottom line result is what's important. Nobody's really investing the time now in the other things, because hey, if it doesn't work out with you, employee ID number 00284, then I'll just go get employee 00285 and they'll produce.
But will they produce? Because I think that's something that people, or maybe some managers, may not be taking into consideration, is that that human capital within your employees. There's a lot of things that come with some of your employees as far as experience and functional expertise and just industry knowledge that you just can't replace with a Joe Schmo with a brand new employee ID number.
Agreed, but people take the gamble and they play the odds. And if you get that person in that's self-driven, that you really don't have to do that much with, you don't have to put that much time into developing, that person that's self-driven is going to take you a little bit further than number 284 that you just got rid of. And then you maximize what you can get out of 285. And once you're done with 285, all right, You can either stay here for the next 30 years or you can move on. If you look at it, that's the way they say to be successful in the workplace now, right? You don't stay at one place for 30 years. You stay at one place for 2 to 3 years, and then you take your talents elsewhere, and that's how you keep building your salary and what you make.
And I think the main reason behind that, though, is the corporate mindset, because the corporate mindset doesn't necessarily value that employee. So if you're somebody who's looking to level up and continuously level up, you're stuck with two options. And if the corporate or corporation that you are employed at is not providing you the same opportunity that you can get elsewhere, at the end of the day, if the corporation has their best interests at heart, why wouldn't I, as the employee, have my best interests at heart?
So yeah, they're not like, employers don't take the time to align the visions and the values of their employees with the visions and the values of the employee or the companies, because the companies and the values are already set. You know, you can read those on a board somewhere in the office. But if you take the time to ask the employee, hey, what is it that you want out of life? You know, where do you want to go? What it is that you want to do? And say, okay, actually, your values and your vision is not too far from ours. This is exactly what we're trying to do. How about you help me do that, and then I'll help you do yours as well. And if you have that type of relationship with your employer, I don't care if the business just blew up down the street and everybody's flocking there. I love where I'm working because they care about me.
You know what?
But that starts in the interview, and we make a mistake when we go in and think that I'm the only person being interviewed.
Exactly.
No, I'm interviewing you as a potential employer as well.
Know your worth.
Yeah, agreed.
And when I interview somebody, if they have no questions at the end of the interview, then you're probably not going to get hired. Because I know that you're not taking the time to find the right place for you. You're just trying to land anywhere to get a check. And no, I want you to definitely invest and make sure that you're landing in the right place, because I might not be the right employer for you. You might be the right employee for me, but I might not be the right employer for you.
I think that comes to something that I was talking to one of my senior director of operations about maybe 2 weeks ago. We were talking about interviewing because, we're in this ramp time now. And, the first interview is the company trying to sell themselves on you. But the second interview as a company is me trying to make sure you fit us. So everything I'm doing is to get you to walk away from the job. And if everything still fits, where at the end of the interview, you still want to be a part of this company, then we know you're right fit. But I'm going to tell you everything that we do day in, day out. That's going to make you think if you can handle this and the culture is right for you. And you got to have that self-awareness that it's just not about the dollar. It's about me. It's about if I can fit in where I get in. And can I grow? If you want to grow, can I grow here? Because some places you go to, there is no growth, but all you see is that dollar. And you can't move forward from there. But there are some times where you can go in one place in the same company and go to a whole different state and grow, exponentially. But you got to be able to take that chance and move around. And millennials have that option now to pack up and move. No family, no kids, just get up and go to another state and increase themselves. It tends to be those who get stuck, that middle generation right now, who's focused on, I've already planned my route, I'm afraid to go somewhere by myself. Those are the ones that get stuck in that circular motion where they're now just employee 248 or whatever number you used before. That's that portion you have.
Our generation got stuck because that's how we learned. We were told, hey, you go to school, you get that corporate job, and you live there forever. That's what you do. That is the system. That's how you play it. And now, the internet allowing people to see that there's so much opportunity and there's so many different things that you can do has started to create that shift that lets people know that, it is okay for me to switch careers, or it is okay for me to try to leverage my expertise in order to get a better position, in a different company. But it's also about leaders/managers being able to, the best ones can make everybody feel that they're being led the same. Everybody feels equal, but yet everybody is being led differently. because that leader, that manager understands and has the time to have that, one-on-one understanding of, just like Carol said, what is it that motivates you specifically so that I can get you to get the things that we as a group collectively need done. And that's where the true expertise comes in, and being able to understand how do you maneuver and position the ability to let all of your employees still feel that, wow, my manager, my boss, whoever treats, everybody so good, but still have that personal relationship of feeling like, but he also gets me and knows what's the, what motivates me, what gets me inspired, what can help me, accomplish what we need to do collectively as a company.
So, like, do y'all think? Okay, quick question. As a millennial and as one who has had multiple jobs, loyalty. Do you think that you should be loyal to a company, or do you think you should be like loyal to yourself? And I see a room for improvement, so I'm gonna go ahead and hop on that. Or do you think, okay, I've been rocking with this company for a year, they haven't done me wrong, I should stay where I'm at? Because we might have some millennials that's listening, and they might be ready to be leading too. You know what I mean? I don't know. So
I think self loyalty is definitely the first. Like, you need to be loyal to yourself, but I think the biggest issue comes in so many people don't understand themselves and have their values in order to understand what they're being loyal to. Just because you're getting a check doesn't mean that job is doing great by you. It's really about understanding what are your goals, what past, just this year or just getting this check is really important to you, and being able to weigh that in the greater scheme of things, to understand that, hey, just because I'm getting a check doesn't necessarily mean that this is great for my life and that this is, the end all be all. But at the same time, it is about understanding that, hey, maybe the opportunity that the company presents and where the growth can go means that you need to, hold stronger to the loyalty that the company has put on you.
So for me, I think it should be mutually beneficial, to a degree. I'm currently, in a position, with my job where, I think they give me enough, and I'm pretty sure that I give them, enough, back. But I think it has to be mutually beneficial. But I also think this question is very subjective, because as Fresh hit on a little bit, you have to know who you are and you have to know what you want first, the company, and then have that align with the company, because 9 times out of 10, your employer at the end of the day is going to do what's in their best interest, no matter what the situation is. And I mean, it's great. You kind of give yourself a little bit more rope, depending on, how much of a relationship how many relationships you've built, or what relationships, the extent of those relationships. But when it comes from moving from job to job, I definitely think it should be some sort of mutual benefit.
I think people need to stop dividing their hourly wage or their salary by the number of hours worked. It needs to be divided by your life value. What is this job adding to my life value? How is this developing me as a person? How is this helping me provide for my family? And when I say provide for my family, I don't just mean from a monetary standpoint, but what is your quality of life? How is it helping for the generations that come after you? And you just can't look at it from a monetary standpoint. You have to look at it from a core value standpoint. We talked about core values last week on the podcast, but how does this help build my foundation of my core values when my child grows up and becomes an adult? What can they look back on as the example that I set through my working career that provided for them, that now they'll think about that when they're going to seek employment? And it's totally different. If you think about the older generation, they had the mindset of, you're lucky to have a job. And now we're in a situation where there's jobs out there for everybody. It just depends on if you want to do it or not. And for some of you, that $35,000 job is going to make you happier than that $350,000 job. You might think that $350,000 job is going to get you what you want, but you're going to be so stressed out and you're going to die before your time because of the stress level. And then it's just a continuing cycle after that. So that's something that you really got to challenge yourself and figure out what's more important to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
A lot of
try
people
out that
realize
350,000 first, though. I mean, I believe you, but I'm gonna try that 350 out. You know, see what that's talking about. You know, how many get at a good year.
And then like, I done got one check in. I don't think this is for me, guys. I'm
gonna just at least do an annual review, and then I might go to that 35.
You know, the funny thing about
you hit on something a little bit earlier when you was talking about growth. And I mean, I think that's pretty important too, especially when you talk about when you throw in scenarios such as the glass ceiling, when you look at, you know, the rat race to get to the top, and, you know, you yourself being not necessarily a corporate man, but you've worked in a corporate environment for some time at Jamba Juice, and I'm pretty sure you've experienced these things on a certain level. Carol, same situation. I would throw it to Fresh, but you know, you self-entrepreneur since pimping's been pimping, you know, so I don't know how much you'll be able to add, but
because I'm out here grinding.
All right, I want to ask you, man, so the glass ceiling, dealing with the rat race, what was that like for you? If you had to, did you have to deal with that at Jamba Juice?
You know what? No, I don't think I did, and only because I always saw the next steps, and I think we talked about this probably back in 1 or 2. I did the whole 3-year plan, and I always knew that I was okay to leave if I had to. And I had good leaders that saw potential in me and saw that, you know, I didn't have to wait for them to die, quote unquote, to move up. There was other ways around the ladder versus going straight up. I can get the escalator or the elevator and get to the next level. So there wasn't that. I've seen it happen. I've seen people get pigeonholed into a position, mostly because of them and they're comfortable, but also because their actions. I mean, your actions speak louder than you can even talk, and your reputation can hold. That's okay. Keep that in there. That can hold higher than you. So there are some friends and employees that, you know, no matter what name they said, and no matter who was a new CEO or who's a new VP, your name said something, and that made them, oh no, this person can't do that. They can't go any further. So as you build relationships and you build your personal brand, that speaks for you, and that's what keeps you going forward. So no matter what's happening or no matter who comes in and out, your brand will shine. Even before you get to the room, they know who you are, and that's when you're able to grow. That's why I've been here for 14 years. It's not because I'm comfortable. It's because I see the next steps, and there will be a point, and I know I have some of my guys listening on the call, that Art will step away. But at this point in time now, I see joy and I see success in helping others. And I'm also building my personal brand so that the connections I build with all the owners, the leaders, the CEOs, I'll have that resource when I'm ready to move forward.
But what about you, Carol, man? You've been, I've worked with you, worked for you. You've been big on development and growth, and you've helped a lot of people get past their own, I guess, internal levels of success. And you've helped people get past what they may have viewed as the glass ceiling. How were you able to do that?
I think what happens is in any situation you go into, I think we talked about that test with the monkeys trying to climb the ladder to get the bananas, right? We talked about that, right? So I think in every work environment, there are some monkeys there that have tried to climb the ladder to get the banana and they got hit with the water. And at this point now, there's no more water, but they're still there telling you what's going to happen if you try to climb the ladder. So for me, I've never listened to the monkeys because I knew who I was and I knew what I was coming in to do. So there was never a glass ceiling for me. There was some people that are trapped in a glass box that they created.
That's what I'm trying to get to, because I don't necessarily know that the glass ceiling actually exists, man. I think it's something that we create in our minds, and just because of our circumstances at our specific employers, we may feel like there's just no progression or I can't get past it. But Art, Faison, you said it perfectly. Your personal brand will speak loudly enough for you to get past certain levels. That glass ceiling, if you feel like it exists, is it time for you to make a change on your own? Maybe there is no more growth here at this particular place, but that doesn't mean growth stops for you at that place. And that brings me to, my next point when it comes to embracing change versus creating change. There's 2 books that I read some time ago. One of them is called Who Moved My Cheese? And the other one is called I Moved Your Cheese. And they both are centered around change. Now, Who Moved My Cheese? That book is basically trying to get you to accept change, be embracing of it, and go with the flow, do what you need to do to make this change work for you. I Moved Your Cheese basically talks about you creating the change that you want to see and not necessarily taking anybody else's or taking what somebody else has for you. And I read those books at a time in my life when we talked about it on the Biocast, when I was in St. Petersburg and I had just left Miami. I'm in between jobs. I'm working at Target, and reading that book is actually what made me jump to CarMax at the time, because I didn't want to feel reading I Moved Your Cheese made me jump to CarMax at the time, because I wanted to feel like I was in control of my life, not somebody else was dictating what steps that I needed to take. Now, even though I think there are 2 mindsets that you definitely have to have working in any corporate environment, there really comes a point in time where you have to figure out which one is most important to you. And I feel like you creating your own change, that'll get you to a certain level of success or sustainable success, because you're always going to be in control no matter what those extenuating circumstances are.
With that, so I think that's interesting you say that, because, and some of us that are out here right now listening, and some of us who will listen to this in the future, you're being told by your superiors, by your friends, hey, I think it's time for you to change. I think you're got bigger things out there. I think you can do bigger things. What's next for you? And you weren't thinking, and I'm also guilty of this process, that I'm not thinking, okay, what's next? I'm like, yeah, I want to do this, and this is my goal for my current position. But I've been told several times, oh yeah, don't get settled here. Always keep your options open. Always be ready to go. And these are people that have mentored me, those who are peers with me, those who are below me. That all say this. So sometimes you have to open your ears and listen to what's around you, because the universe will put out there that it's time for you to step aside, and you might miss the opportunity if you aren't looking, unless you are focused on something else that's coming your way. That's a step forward. So just know where you are and be able to either move your cheese or wait for somebody to move it for you, but you gotta keep your ears open at all times, or you're gonna miss the opportunity.
I think, especially as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest thing I see, or biggest mistakes I see people who are in the corporate environment get caught up in, is believing that they are, not a number at the end of the day. If it is not your company, if you are not the CEO, the head person in charge, people get so caught up in thinking that, what they did yesterday really matters at the end of the day. I've seen people who have changed total companies be fired the day after, they made all the most amazing accomplishments for that company. That it's understanding, until you have your own, you need to have that ability, just as Art was stating, to understand, see, and pay attention to what's available, and not get caught up in your loyalty to a check or to a company falsely, without truly understanding. Unless you are the one who is at the top of the food chain, you are always a notch on the belt and have the ability to be expendable. And so don't get caught with your pants down.
Yep. Everyone is replaceable. There's no position, no matter how high or how low, it's not replaceable. It may take you longer to get there because your role is important, but trust and believe that everyone is replaceable at some point in time.
So yeah, guys, for all our listeners, we covered a lot of stuff when it comes to, being successful in the workplace. And this is all coming from people who have seen different levels of success, whether it be entrepreneurship, whether it be senior level management, whether it be in a 14-year company guy. But these are all things that we've kind of taken to navigate those areas that we feel like would be useful for you all listening today. So take notice, take it into consideration, and I definitely do recommend those books. I Moved Your Cheese. I personally like that one better, but Who Moved Your Cheese is pretty good too, man. Take a listen. They're really short. They're like maybe 80-90 pages. You can read it in like 30 minutes, but it'll give you a different perspective, or help kind of like give you a different outlook on how you want to navigate, not only in your job, but also through life. Before we get out of here, fellas, and I'm gonna go to Carol for his closing in just a second, but we almost forgot to talk about draft day. And it's a lot of dudes out there that just made a lifelong dream come true. Mm-hmm. What's y'all take on the draft?
Philadelphia did it right.
So I'm an Eagles fan too, and I don't know if we necessarily did it right. The defensive end that we picked in the first round, he definitely isn't. He doesn't have the makings of a superstar on paper.
Right.
But I might be wrong. Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round. So.
Oh, I wasn't saying the draft. I was literally saying we did the entire draft right. As far as the location, the setup, the flow, the view.
Man, get out of here.
We hosted it. We hosted it well. New York City did it for a couple years in
such a random
ballroom.
I just want to let you guys know
the
arena where
New York City did it for so long and did it in the same.
And I don't know if you guys noticed the lights and the table settings. Did you see the tablecloths in Philadelphia? They were fantastic.
It was set up right. The Hall of Fame was down there. They brung it in the museum. No, they did it on the Philly Museum, so it was good. It was a real, it was a good showcase.
Philly,
it's such a classy event. I mean, just Philly, shouts Philly, go Philly,
of Philadelphia.
Right. So
Motown,
you spoke on it. Tom Brady,
again.
he got drafted like in the 6th round. Dalvin Cook, I really wanted him to get drafted to Tampa Bay, even though we got that tight end out of Alabama. I'll take him, but Dalvin Cook fell into the 2nd round, and it's amazing to me how I think it was a report that came out like right before the draft, like Friday or something on Yahoo, and it basically talked about all of his like adolescent troubles and things of that nature, and he just fell from like a high. He was probably going to be the first running back taken out of the draft, and he falls to the 2nd round.
I will tell you that maybe that report came out on Yahoo, but it wasn't something that was not known.
Yeah, they knew what time it was
because a lot of college recruiters passed on him
for the same
because of his middle school issues that he had. So if they knew, trust me, the NFL knew. And again, that just goes to show you have to be so careful about what you participate in, what you expose yourself to, because you never know what the consequences, repercussions are going to be. So he's potentially missed out on millions of dollars up front in his career.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. He may get that money back once he proves, I'm not going to have off the field issues. I'm a stable, consistent producer.
He never had any issues at Florida State, as far as I know. And the way he was dogging people, I think they played Michigan in the bowl game, right? And the way he dogged Michigan, like just his whole career, like I really felt bad that so many teams passed over him. But it's just fuel for the fire, baby. I know he's gonna go out there and hopefully be the next AP for the Minnesota Vikings. Though.
I was going to go back into Carol speaking on the fact that what you are doing now will follow you and haunt you and create issues later on, especially with social media. This is something that especially millennials need to hold and grasp onto, the understanding of, even though you've had that 4-year span of doing great, I still remember those 8 years previously ago and have the evidence of seeing, how foolish and thoughtless you were back then. And it takes a lot longer to be able to regain that trust and understanding of how responsible you can be once it is lost. So that is exactly what he is facing now, and having to work even harder to prove his worth and value because of something that was, when he was at the end of the day, a child, really a child. Because if you're, talking about something that happened in middle school, who is really thinking or has any type of real, sense when you're in middle school. And so it's definitely a real poignant way to see and understand how what you do today can affect your tomorrow.
And that's what, like you said, like he was a child. So like, at what point? I'm sorry, yo, I'm gonna let you go. All right, but I gotta.
He feels that.
I'm gonna let you go, Taylor. But Beyonce won that
award. No, but I just because at what point do you just kind of like realize that kids are gonna be kids? Don't get me wrong, I completely agree. What you do today is definitely going to dictate your tomorrow. It's like strongly influences your tomorrow. So I agree with that wholeheartedly. But at the same time, my man, I don't know, if he did it in middle school or even if he did it in high school, but if all throughout his college career he was, squeaky clean, obviously he was, a good student and trying to be there for the team, and then you look at something he did in, high school, middle school, it's like, are you just trying to find reasons, or like that's not the same person that we are today? Like, I'm not the same man I was.
You want a real answer on that? If you're talking about dealing with millions of dollars in franchises and all of the what you have the opportunity to mess up is not worth that roll of the dice. Because how many athletes, period, have been given that opportunity with less people who had zero issues throughout their whole career and were amazing, from middle school all the way through college, and then got their chance and then had some type of head case issue. That's what it is just the fact that there's that shaded area. I can't mess up, this is billions of dollars, like a huge, chain that is going on past thinking, well, we should give this guy an opportunity. It's because of the bigger picture. And that's the same way it is in a corporation. He was just a wild and crazy kid. That's why he was doing stuff and all that. Do I want to take the chance of giving this, the last 4 years he's been great, but now do I really want to take the chance on that money? Do I really want to?
I feel you. But okay,
that's what it boils down to.
I was like, do you think there should be like a stipulation, like they can go like the statute of limitation? You know what I mean? Like they can go back only but so far.
Once it's out there though, but once it's out there, it's out there. It's public knowledge. So he did it. It's done. His record has probably been squeaky clean up through high school or whatever. Once he moved from wherever he was once he moved from middle school to high school or whatnot. At this point, Dalvin, it's on you, show and prove, man. Like, he has to go out there and be that model citizen the same way Jameis, when he left and he had the issues right before he left Florida State. You got to go out there
stealing crabs,
yelling expletives, all of that stuff. You got to go out there and be that model citizen. And hopefully, with him going to the Vikings, and I think Chris Carter is probably still very involved, especially with the rookies and stuff. He has those role models that'll keep him on, that straight and narrow while he's going through his career.
So I think I can sum up everything we just said in 7 words. Your personal brand is bigger than you.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
That's it. That's all you need to know.
Hey, man, before we get out of here, and I'm going to give Carol his last word, man. Remember, subscribe to the podcast so you can stay updated with the 13th floor. Check out the website, www.fledgology.com. Pardon our feathers while we go through. Fresh is going and creating, this amazing, phenomenal website for the team. But definitely, once we get it up and going, we want you to check it out and send us your email. Send us, your topics. Send us your feedback. Leave comments on the podcast. You can email us at info@fledgology.com. You will get a response. That way, we know what you're thinking and what you may want to hear. And if you have opportunities for our man Carol to come and speak at, just let us know. We'll be definitely down to do that. Coach K, the prolific one, what you got for the people?
Before I get to the people, I have a message for Dalvin Cook personally. Somebody out there knows him, and I want to make sure that this message gets to him. What you're going through right now is what happens when you're from Miami and you go to Florida State instead of coming to the U.
There it is.
You tell him. You went to the wrong school.
Kaya did get drafted. He's going to
He's going to the Lions. He's going to the Detroit Lions. He's going over there with
Shout out to Kai. I know I tied
with Al. With Al. Al picked him up.
Okay.
Al picked him up.
But yeah, so for those other athletes out there in high school from the Miami area, just know, if you go to Florida State and you help Florida State beat us many years in a row, this is the type of thing that happens to you. All right, now for the rest of the people out there, I'm sorry, man. I had to get that out of here.
That was perfect, man. That was perfect.
Yeah, because everybody was all dialed in and thinking I was going somewhere serious with it, and I am serious. But to close out. So talking about the workplace, and again, I want to highlight a lot of you go in there and you want to fraternize and make good friends with the monkeys that are going to tell you all the reasons why you're not going to make it and why it doesn't make sense for you to put forth the effort. And at the end of the day, if you're wondering who moved your cheese, you never had cheese to begin with, because the people that you chose to associate with when you got there, they took your cheese before you started on day one. So my advice to you is that when you are in the workplace, find yourself a mentor early in the process that can help guide you and can make sure that you'll never be in an artificial box that doesn't exist. You'll never hit a glass ceiling. And at the end of the day, some of you're out there worried about cheese and you don't need to be on the dairy anyway. You probably need to be looking for almond milk right now. And if you don't go back and align yourselves with your personal values and what's important to you and what's going to be important for the generations to come, then you're going to be in the wrong place, and you might be there for a long time and walk out with nothing. Or you might be asked to leave and still have nothing. So again, going back to core values, going back to I'm the one, only you can decide if your employer is the right person for you and if you're the right person for your employer. Don't leave it to the interview. You decide that.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, you can catch us on SoundCloud, YouTube, Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, Google Play, wherever you listening to your podcast, we are there. But that's the show. I'd like to thank you all for listening here with us on the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing.
Can you be amazing?
Shout out to the Deltas. Chapter, that's it.